Hello and welcome. Please take your seats. We're about to begin. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Roland. I'll be your moderator for today. I'll just give it 30 seconds just to allow people to come into the room and get settled. Grab a cup of tea very quickly if you like. And let's begin. So yeah, hi everybody. I'm delighted to see you all here for today's Lunch and Learn webinar on scaling delivery through investable solutions. My name is Roland Harwood. We've got three fantastic presenters today. Hannah from Peterborough, Esme from Leicestershire, and Dave from Liverpool. I'll introduce them properly in just a second. But yeah, this is part of, I would love it if everybody just said hello in the chat and let us know who you are and where you're dialing in from. That would be lovely. Have a bit of interaction as we go. So my name's Roland Harwood. I wear a number of hats. For today's purposes, I'm moderating today's session, but I'm interested in all things to do with cities, climate and data. I won't say any more than that today, but I'm delighted to have had the opportunity to work as part of this Net Zero Living programme, of which all the three talks today are linked to that. And been delighted to be able to play a role together with these organisations here on the screen. So Innovate UK supported the programme and probably known to most of you, I would have thought, on the webinar. Urban Foresight, fantastic sister organisation of ours based in the northeast in Scotland, and are helping to convene a community of 59 towns and cities, all transitioning to net zero, and you'll hear from three of those today. And I'm from an organisation or a network called Liminal, and we've also been working collaboratively on that. So that's who we are, and would love to hear who you are. I can see, hi, Esme from Community Energy Pathways, and Hannah, hey Hannah from Liminal, and Emma Louise from Belfast. Welcome to you all, and everybody else who's saying hello in the chat. Thank you. Tiny bit of housekeeping. We're just keeping you all muted. I think we're expecting 70 or 80 people today, and maybe double that. We'll review it afterwards based on previous experience. Please do say hello. You're already doing that in the chat, which is wonderful. We'd love to capture questions, which we'll put to our speakers after we've heard from all three of them in the Q&A function that you should be able to see at the bottom of your screen. If you can't, you might just need to click on the More option, and then you'll see the Q&A function, which is what I had to do when I logged in today. But you can also post questions in the chat if you can't find that for any reason. And we are recording this event. As I say, quite a few people like to follow up from this, and this is part of a series. We'll share links to previous webinars and future webinars in the chat as we go. Hello, Robbie. Hello, Rhiannon. Hello, Diane. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Una. Sorry if I've missed anybody. There's too many people, but that's great to see you all. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, so our agenda very, very quickly. So I'm going to hand over, as I say, to our three fantastic speakers who are going to talk about projects that they've been involved with. As I say, in Hannah from Peterborough, Accelerated Net Zero, Esme from Greener Future in Leicestershire, and then Dave Wakelin from Realising Net Zero Liverpool. And then, yeah, we've got time for your questions at the end, but do post your questions as we go, and we'll address as many of them as we can as we go. I think that's all I was going to say by way of intro. So allow me to hand over to our first speaker. Please give a warm welcome and a virtual round of applause to Hannah Swinburne. Hannah, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Roland. So yeah, my name's Hannah Swinburne. I'm the Climate Change Manager at Peterborough City Council, and also the programme lead for the Peterborough Accelerated Net Zero programme. So we were lucky enough to secure funding from the demonstrator and the Scale and Embed programmes. Going to talk about both of these today. They kind of blend into each other. So yeah, we're talking about both. But going to first off start focusing on kind of investable pipelines. So the whole aim of the project is to support local authorities to develop project plans for delivery in net zero projects, both for their own council estates and also for the region, and to support local authorities who have limited capacity and resource to do so. we do this by enabling rapid development of early stage project design and helping to inform decision making. And then the idea is to take that further forward to try to use that project insight to seek finance and grants to be able to deliver these projects. So just moving on to the next slide, I'm going to talk you through a project called Odin. So Odin is a tool which has been developed by Nordic Energy. It helps to identify potential project opportunities across a range of different technologies. So district heat networks, ground-mounted solar, wind, domestic retrofit, which includes energy efficiency, heat pumps and solar, commercial rooftop solar and solar canopies. And what it does, it not only identifies viable projects, but also projects the kind of capital expenditure and operating costs and revenue generation. So just going on to the next slide, I'm going to show you a video of the tool in action. So hopefully this demonstrates just how kind of quick and easy it is to use. So you get your area of the city. So this is Peterborough in this case. And this is looking at developing a potential district heat network. So heat network. The yellow area is a zone from the government's proposed kind of pilot scheme around heat network zoning. So all you do is draw a polygon around your area of interest, and the tool can identify the buildings that fit your parameters. So in this case, we're looking at buildings with an energy demand of over 100 kilowatt hours. And that's identified all of the buildings in blue here. And then going down, clicking on the run button, this will look to kind of create the lowest cost route for piping between these buildings. And it looks at the potential the route in which will be lowest cost, basically. It does that all really quickly, and then it generates some information about the project, looking at how many buildings it will connect, what's the potential kind of total peak demand. And then also, if you click on the commercial analysis button, it will take you through looking at the kind of cost projections for that project. So you can hear, so you can see elements around the potential kind of capital cost and then the revenue generation over time. So you can see that this potential project would be a financially viable project. So just moving on to the next slide, please. We then take that forward into a tool called FOR, also developed by Nordic Energy. This is a kind of checklist for local authority officers to follow to understand what activities they would need to do to deliver that sort of project. So it's meant to be kind of a guiding handhold for local authority officers to follow, and it's aligned to various project stages, and that's bespoke to the different kind of projects and different technology types. So once we've developed the kind of the list of potential projects and an idea of how these could be delivered, what we want to do next is take it into Zero Earth. So the next tool is on the next slide, please. It's been developed by Eden 7, and this is an aid in decision making. So the first part of the tool is allows standardized carbon accounting with really transparent calculation methodology. The really exciting part is being able to compare your different emission reduction scenarios based on the projects that you've identified, which could be through Odin or could be from other means. So you can build a strategic pipeline, which is then linked back to your organization's carbon accounts. So you can see the potential impact of a potential project on your own carbon emissions. And that allows you to make decisions based on kind of how impactful the project might be, given the kind of either time resources or financial resources that you'd have to expend to deliver that project. So that allows kind of supported decision making. The tool also allows collaborative project management tracking. So it allows different project leads across the council to update the tool to share information about how the project delivery is going and the latest kind of financial and delivery information on that project. So just on to the next slide, please. So this is just a screenshot of the information you can see. This is looking at a good way, a nice way to kind of present the organisation's emissions. And then onto just clicking through the next one should bring up a screenshot of the demonstration of the potential impact of various different projects. So looking into the future, you can see that the projected emissions are tracked. In the grey, it's kind of business as usual. In the blue is if you deliver the projects which are currently in the pipeline, how that would impact your emissions. And you can toggle that around by switching on and off different projects so that you're able to look at the impact of those projects. So on to the next slide, please. So then we move into our scale and embed project. So this is looking at the trying to gain financial investment into projects. So the first activity we've done is to look at our investment readiness. So the local net zero accelerator, or LENSA, which is being worked out of the Greater South East Net Zero Hub, has created a tool called Fit for Finance. They've worked with some larger local authorities and combined authorities to look at what aspects an organisation would need to do or to be to secure financial investment. So we've undertaken that assessment. We've developed an improvement plan and are going to reassess how we are after we've delivered our improvement plan to see whether we've moved the dial at all, to see if we're more ready for financial investment. I think the interesting thing here is that Peterborough is quite kind of a standard size local authority. And so it looks more at the applicability of the Fit for Finance tool to support kind of more typical local authorities in securing finance. So that piece of work is ongoing at the moment. We are also taking the projects developed in the Project Identification Tool, or ODIN, and assembling those into portfolios. And we're currently in the process of developing an investment prospectus. We're looking to take this to a couple of different kind of formal avenues, as well as engaging with any other financial investors along the way. But we are linked up with the finance TAP, and looking to do their investment pitch later on this month. And then also looking to take our investment prospectus along to UK REEF, which is a kind of place-based investment forum, which local authorities go to, which is in May. So looking to take the opportunities in Peterborough to that forum later. And then we're also doing a piece of work on public engagement. So looking at the public support of the projects within our investment prospectus to demonstrate that these are kind of locally supported projects, and to feed any kind of insights into the investment prospectus too. So that's everything for me, really. If you just go on to the last slide, it's just got my contact details, and I understand that questions are going to be shared at the end of the group presentations. But yeah, very happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hannah. That was really, really interesting, very timely. I'm very curious to hear what the appetite is for investment for you and some of these projects when we dive into the Q&A shortly. But yeah, as I say, please do ask your questions for Hannah and for all of our speakers indeed, ideally in the Q&A function, else alternatively in the chat, and we'll come to those in the end. But yeah, thanks again, Hannah. That was really fantastic. I'm now going to move us on to our next speaker today, which is delighted to be joined by Esme from Community Energy Pathways and Greener Future Leicestershire. So Esme, if you'd like to join us, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roland, and good to see you all. I hope you're all enjoying your sandwiches and sitting nice and comfortably. So good to see you all. So I've come along to tell you about the Greener Future Leicestershire project. I'm CEO at Community Energy Pathways, and we have been working with Leicestershire County Council and Green Fox to deliver the community energy elements of this project. Next slide, please. So I'm going to start a little bit, just a few basics, because I'm aware that some of you probably are living and breathing community energy, and others probably may not have ever have heard of it. So I'm going to give you a quick intro to what it's all about. So community energy is all about bringing people together to lead in generating renewable energy, also leading on energy efficiency projects and raising awareness about net zero in their local community. So creating job skills and other opportunities. Next slide, please. A few stats, I won't go over these in any detail, but this is from the State of the Sector report by Community Energy England. So if you're interested in what's happening in the sector, do have a look at that report. And there's a few stats here. This is very much only the beginning. Many of you will know that GB Energy is looking to very much invest in community energy and look to identify 1,000 new projects, 8 gigawatts of energy as well. So there's some big targets coming out of the government at the moment. Next slide, please. And I'll let you know a little bit about us. So Community Energy Pathways, we've been running for over 10 years. And we work with local authorities and community groups and a whole range of other industry partners, looking to really position communities as a leading role in our net zero transition. We're working throughout the country, and our work in Leicestershire has been running for about 18 months now. Next slide, please. A whole range of people that we work with, and just to give you an idea of where we work around the country. Next slide. And we're running a whole range of different projects. So this shows you the projects that we're running throughout the country, particularly our Community Energy People project. This is the image on your right here. So that shows Green Fox Community Energy in Leicestershire. This is the project that we're talking about today, and continuation work. We work on capacity building throughout the country, also energy advice and planning. And our Community Energy People project is now funding members of staff to work over several years on community energy projects. Thank you. Next slide. So I guess on to talking about Greener Future Leicestershire. So this is a £2.5 million funded project that's led by Leicestershire County Council. Michael Southern's the project manager on this project, sends his apologies, and he's parachuted me in today to talk about this project. So hope I do it justice for him. We've been working on the community energy side of the project, but there's a much larger project that this is part of as well. We've been looking at local area energy planning with the catapult, and taking a community energy angle on that, looking to identify projects through the LAPE that could be suitable to go through to community ownership. So it's been really interesting to see how the LAPE tool can be modified and scenarios can be run specifically for community energy. There's also been a business advisory service running alongside this. It's been led by De Montfort University, and there's been a governance and collaboration work package as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to focus in on the community energy side of this project that we've been working on. So we had a range of targets at the beginning of the project. Essentially, we needed to identify community energy representation in each district in Leicestershire, and to start build capacity and skills so that the people that are acting as representatives or as community energy groups can start to actively manage their own projects, identify generation projects, but also get started on energy efficiency projects as well. We had a target of raising £700,000. This is just within this small work package, so it's only a small percentage of the wider project. We needed to look at 14 community energy projects in development. That's community energy generation projects specifically. And also as well, we had a readiness fund of 140,000 that we needed to administer and support the local communities to deliver. So our programme, it is largely a bespoke version of our capacity building process, and it's around 4 different steps. So we look at assessing an area, putting together a strategy on how we mobilise communities for delivering community energy projects, working alongside partners, local authorities, and how we start to identify local opportunities. Then we move on to step 2, which is our mobilisation. So this is starting to look at how we can find the right representatives, how we can find the right organisations, how we can support them to grow, develop their skills, and start to think about their projects. We have a big tools and training programme. So we upskill local people, and then we look to really scale that up through focus projects. We've had a forum that we've been running, lots of events, our websites, newsletters, and all of our project work under delivery. So next slide, please. So lots on this slide. So this is showing you the impact of the project. So the project's due to come to a close at the end of this month. And this shows a few highlights about what we've done. So on the left, the nice coloured boxes, that is the projects that have been funded now through the Readiness Fund. So all £140,000 were distributed, and we have been supporting local groups to deliver those. So they've ranged from shared ownership projects to energy efficiency projects, and a really interesting one that we're really enjoying at the moment is the Coalville Radio. So they're looking about how they can set up renewable energy projects that can power local radio stations throughout the country. So that's a really cool one that we're working on. Some of the stats there, we've identified nearly 16 megawatts of projects that could be delivered within Leicestershire, and they're starting to move forward now. Most of those are schools projects, and the local authority was able to endorse schools working with community energy organisations, which was quite game-changing for this project, and generated lots of interest. Over 100 schools came forward and said that they would like to look at their buildings for rooftop solar. So that was fantastic. Loads of feasibility studies completed. About half of them just are not feasible. The rest go through into the pipeline. There's been a big programme of raising funds for delivery. So the figure you see there, that is including our contract delivery, the amount of money that was invested in the project, and also the amount of money that was secured. So the amount of money that was secured in addition to the work was nearly £600,000, and we had a target of 700, but we have got community share offers that are being prepared at the moment, so we hope to much surpass that over the next coming months. And we have 23 community energy champions now throughout Leicestershire. Many of them are being funded to deliver their local projects, and we've also positioned our community energy people project within Leicestershire, so that now creates jobs and another 2 years of funding to carry on community energy projects. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm just going to touch in on the energy plan as well. So this was the largest part of the Greener Future project, and it looked to run thousands of different scenarios and build in a huge amount of different data sets to look at what projects could be feasible within the whole of Leicestershire. It was a very detailed piece of work. It was led by the Energy Systems Catapult, and it looks to identify where the project opportunities are likely to be in place throughout the country. Throughout the county. Next slide, please. Okay, and one thing that it has done as well, which has been really interesting, as I mentioned before, is to focus in on how community energy projects could be identified through the LAPE process. So we worked with community with the catapult, and we looked to see what specific parameters would be likely to be most suitable for community energy projects, and they built that into their online tool, which is now available for indefinitely to allow community energy groups to really focus in on their local areas. They can zoom in on their town, their village, or further afield, and have a drop-down menu that will show them what types of projects might be feasible. Next slide, please. And thank you. I think that's the end. So very much welcoming questions, particularly on the community energy side of things, but also happy to talk about the wider project as well.
Thank you so much, Esme. That was really fantastic, engaging. I think we'll definitely let Michael know that you've done him justice. That was really great. There's actually a question in the chat from Susan about medium to larger community energy projects, if you want to engage with that, but maybe we'll come on to that in a little bit. And I'm really keen in the Q&A perhaps to explore the route map for net zero that you've been doing in Leicestershire, what some of the commonalities and differences are in different places based on your experience there. But maybe we can come on to that. Do keep on asking questions, please, of our three speakers. But I'm just going to move us on. So we've heard from everybody, and then we're going to dive into some discussion. So last but by no means least, we have Dave representing Liverpool City Council and the Realising Net Zero Liverpool project. Dave, I'm going to reset the timer and I'm going to hand over to you. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. I will do my best to stick to the timer. So yeah, thank you for the invitation. So I'm Dave Wakeland, Head of Sustainability for Liverpool City Council. And I've sort of joined the council over the last couple of months and sort of picked up the back end of us completing our Realising Net Zero Liverpool project, which is a fantastic opportunity to look at how we go and take opportunities across the city and scale them and embed them to deliver the city's net zero carbon targets into the future. So next slide, please, Roland. So just what I'm going to do is give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour through everything that's been in the Realising Net Zero Liverpool project. So starting at the bottom, it's built up around a number of key pillars. So how we deliver domestic retrofit, how we bring forward electric vehicle charging, work around heat networks, grid flexibility, and how we work with our local distribution network operator to maximize efficiency in the local grid in Liverpool, and then actually how we embed decarbonisation, particularly around embodied carbon, into new build. So we've got these 5 key themes, and then we've looked at how we apply those across 3 sort of exemplar areas in the city. So the city centre, an existing estate which represents a sort of substantial part of the stock of Liverpool at Newsham Park, and then a new build development site at Festival Gardens, where we can take some of those ideas and apply them to a new build development and take those principles forward. So we're taking those sites and those interventions, and then from that producing a number of key deliverables, which are going to inform how we take our plan forward into delivering net zero for the city. So the first of those is a socio-techno-economic model for what the financial models, the commercial models, the carbon benefits, and the broader socio-economic outputs from delivering net zero carbon interventions across the city will play out. That's then feeding into an investment prospectus that we can then take to the investor market to show the scale of the opportunity across the city that delivers an investor return financially, but also delivers the council's benefits in terms of decarbonisation, fuel poverty, air quality, all those other improvements. So it joins the two together very strongly with some really strong evidence base that's built from the bottom up rather than from the top down. We built a retrofit database, which sort of using the Newsham Park example and some other archetypes actually starts to look at how we can scale retrofit requirements across the city and therefore cost, and look at the implications on individual householders. And then wrapping around all of that are a number of delivery strategies and routes to dealing with some of the non-technical barriers to making these things happen. We all know a lot of the technology works. It's proven PV is an obvious one that works, but how do you get these things rolled out at scale across a city where you're trying to engage with lots of different residents, businesses, etc., etc. And ultimately, the aim from the whole process is to bring together a set of proposals and plans and investment models and strategies around it that help us to go and deliver the ultimate council's objective of driving towards net zero and helping alleviate those problems around air quality, fuel poverty, and start to deliver local jobs and growth. So just want to move on to the next one, please, Roland. So starting at the top, we've been working with Climate View and Climate OS, who a number of people who are listening today may have worked within their cities or regions. So this is a platform that's been used by hundreds of cities around the world to communicate how the net zero transition and the different scenarios in the net zero transition can play out. So taking the information we're generating through all of our models and putting it into their sort of dashboard. That means we can go and test scenarios and we can communicate as officers back with our elected members and with the public at large on what the interventions we're proposing will actually mean to the city, both in terms of carbon reduction, but also wider economic benefits in terms of jobs and skills and other indicators. So we're using this, we've been testing it as part of our project, and we're then going to roll that forward and use that for communication as we start to roll the scheme out. Let's move on to the next slide, please. This is just a screenshot of our retrofit database. So this is a piece of work we've been doing with a number of local architects and universities to identify the different housing typologies that exist in Liverpool, and from that developing interventions that work on a property by archetype basis. And now we're going through the process of taking all that data and scaling it up to city centre or city-wide level, so we can start to understand the likely cost, the implications in terms of tenants and homeowners in terms of what interventions will mean to their properties, how we can potentially deliver at scale across streets or communities as we can start to join archetypes together. And it gives us a really strong baseline, coupled with other data around energy consumption, for example, that means we can go and scale retrofit interventions rapidly, and also take that to investor markets as investment prospectus, which are working at very large scale rather than very, very small scale, which from the feedback we've had from investors is really where we need to start to get to in terms of driving investment into the city. Next slide, please. I mentioned flex at the start in terms of a revenue opportunity and something that we as a city council need to be aware of. We work very closely with our local distribution network operator, Scottish Power, and they are under massive pressure on the grid locally, but we also know there's opportunities there that we can both benefit from in terms of maximising trading our spare electrical capacity in our buildings to give Scottish Power the flexibility not to go and put new copper in the ground and spend a huge amount of money on upgrading infrastructure. This is a revenue stream for us as a local authority. We get paid for trading our spare capacity back with spend. It also saves spend money in terms of having to go and invest in new infrastructure. So it's a real win-win opportunity. And we're investigating this. We're testing some pilots on some of our leisure centres to make sure we can actually go and trade in the platform. So the screenshot there is Scottish Power's Picklow trading platform, where we can go and put our spare capacity onto their marketplace. They pay us a revenue for it. We get some money as an income that we can then go and put into other investments, and they get the shared benefits of not having to go and make new investments. So it's something that we're exploring, and actually we think has got massive opportunity for scaling both across the city, but also outside of Liverpool as a region. If we move on to the next one, please. As I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of work around stakeholder engagement and non-technical barriers. So we've run a number of workshops with our citizens and our businesses, working with specialist communications and engagement agencies and consultants to work out how we communicate the net zero carbon message to particularly our citizens, but and then also to our businesses in the city, so they understand the impact of the transition, and we can work with them to understand how we overcome some of the barriers that they see to making things happen. For example, how we go and make a heat network run down the middle of a street in a dense urban area that's got on-street parking, taking that feedback from the citizens, from the housing associations we're working with, to make sure that we can design interventions and work with our communities to make sure we get buy-in and support to go and deliver the product we want to go and deliver in the future. Move on to the next one, please. We've been working closely with a couple of universities, but in particular Liverpool John Moores University, on how we move beyond operational carbon and existing buildings into how we can start to drive the agenda more broadly into reducing embodied carbon footprint, which is a commitment the City Council and the City of Liverpool has made in terms of trying to be net zero by 2040. That includes a whole load of stuff that's going to come through from development. So I've been working with the universities to look at a whole range of opportunities around circular economy, and in particular around bio-based materials and using buildings as living infrastructure, taking biochar products, for example, to go and lock up carbon, how we can incorporate that into supply chains locally to create jobs and skills and a marketplace for novel construction materials. And importantly, how we're testing these out with new developments like Festival Gardens, where working with the developers there. We're testing some of the ideas to make sure that they're commercially and financially viable, which means we can then go and scale that into other developments that the City Council is bringing forward, either through our land allocations or through the products we're delivering ourselves. So we start to move into some really interesting space. It starts to form potential PhD partnerships going forward. So some really interesting and novel stuff that's happening on that side of things that gets away from the normal approach that people have been taking recently to decarbonisation. If you jump onto the next one, please. A key plank of delivering net zero in Liverpool, and particularly in the future around alleviating fuel poverty, is how we make our transition to heat networks work. So we've done an awful lot of work as a city to take forward both large-scale heat networks. So the image on the left-hand side is Liverpool's advanced zoning program. We are one of DESNZ's AZP cities. We're currently going out to procurement for our heat network zone developer, but that's going to be delivering city-scale heat networks in those places where we've got very, very high energy density. That doesn't work particularly well for where we've got suburban areas or lower density residential, where the financial models don't stack up in quite the same way for the large organisations. But we have been doing an awful lot of work with local micro and small scale heat networks using sort of fairly novel technology around ambient loops and potential other sources of heat that mean we can probably deliver low carbon and affordable heat to lower density residences in the area. And it's starting to show actually benefits not just for us in terms of getting heat to those properties, which solves some of the decarbonisation and degasification problem. What it's also showing is that from a Scottish Power's electricity network, actually it's far less energy dense and easier on their network than going to a localized heat pump solution to properties. So there's a win-win in it from our side of things in terms of alleviating fuel poverty, but also from Scottish Power's point of view in terms of reducing investment cost and making their network last longer. So some really interesting stuff that we're starting to share, and we're sharing knowledge between those two different projects at the moment to make sure that both benefit from the learning that's coming from each other. You can jump on to the next one, please. And then lastly, I sort of mentioned at the start, what we really want to try and do from the RNZL project is drive the investment that brings all these ideas together and brings the funding in to actually go and make them happen. And a key part of the output through the STEM model I mentioned at the start and the investment prospectus is how we go and visualize and communicate with the investor market as to how they will see a revenue return from putting money into Liverpool to go and deliver our net zero carbon transition. So New Resource Partners, our sort of lead partner on our consortium, has been developing a number of tools, and we've been engaging with a number of investors to show how that investment can be realised. So this is a screenshot of the NQIP app that's being developed that shows how we can look at a range of energy assets across the city. We've got lots and lots of data around property type, energy consumption. So it's very, very granular data that we can then go and use to build up what a PV installation might look like, what the revenue returns on that might be from both sales of electricity to tenants or to property owners, or through trading flex market availability that I mentioned earlier on, and then for what capital cost goes with that as well. So we can visualize it easily, and we can go and play tunes with particular investors to go and build portfolios of assets that work for them and show how those revenue returns will come through. So we're currently testing this with a number of investors that we're working with to make sure it works, and actually we're matching their needs with our assets to make sure we do have an investable, bankable set of propositions. So is that my time gone?
It is, but you can finish off what you were saying.
Sorry, I was
go for it.
Talking too long.
No, not at all. Perfect.
I can wrap up there if you want, unless you want to go into the scaling part. Depends on how you're fixed for time, Roland.
Why don't we dive into some of that in the Q&A, if that's all right? But yeah, no, that was great. I thought there was lots of interesting insights there. Oh, well, no. Ooh, what?
Well, no, we'll come to that in a minute. So
actually, no.
I'll leave this part. So yeah, really, what we're trying to do now is sort of show how we're going to take forward all these opportunities we've developed so far. So the spend work we're doing Scottish Power, we're continuing that relationship with them to carry on the collaboration. That's starting to really generate benefits for both of us. Flick on to the next one. We are expanding the trade-off between our heat networks. So the information that's coming through from AZP, the Advanced Zoning Program, is being fed into the small-scale heat networks and vice versa. There's further opportunities for collaboration and research that are coming through from that we're working with DESNES on. Jump on to the next one. We are taking the citizen engagement further forward. So we are arranging a citizens assembly, which will be happening in Q2 of this year, so start of the summer, to get proper feedback on some of the really thorny issues that we've got appearing in the city around, particularly around delivering retrofit. Next one, please. We are holding a net zero investment summit at the end of this month to go and test the ideas we've got to so far in terms of investment models and business models with a broader range of investors to make sure that what we are doing is investable, and obviously generate some interest and enthusiasm for bringing money into the city, which we hope will be successful. We've got a big enough scale of projects now that makes that happen. We've done a lot of work on EV, and actually our micro-mobility schemes are now expanding. So as of Sunday, we've now gone from a small scale scooter pilot, e-scooter pilot, to having 2,000 e-scooters in the city permanently and 300 electric bikes, which are there for use by the city's residents. So that's starting to turn into real tangible work actually on the ground at the moment. Through the work we've done with social housing providers and PV operators, we've now sort of made an introduction between one of our social housing landlords and a fully funded PV opportunity. We're stepping back at this point. It's a negotiation between those guys, but RNZL has actually managed those links to happen. So we're starting to see some real investment starting to come through into projects that we've been in the middle of brokering, and it's now starting to make the market that other people can take forward. Next one. We are scaling our flex market participation. So we've tested some sites. We're now looking to include all of Liverpool's 236 built assets into the flex market participation, which we think for us is a revenue stream of high hundreds of thousands of pounds a year, which goes into a pot that we're going to go and use for reinvestment. But also we can then go and scale that through the businesses in the city. We're a relatively small landlord property owner in the city. This is a far bigger opportunity for other people. And last one, we're taking the materials work that we're doing into some of our master planning. We are currently rewriting our local plan, which goes out to consultation, or the final version goes out to consultation back end of this year. We are embedding some of the lessons learned on the materials choices into the requirements we're putting into the development for both in the local plan, but also in schemes that we are taking forward as lead developer, like the North Docks Merrill Development Corporation, which is what you see there with the new Hill Dickinson Stadium in the foreground, I think. And then lastly, we are starting to share the knowledge that we've gained from RNZL with other projects. So we've done a lot of work around heat networks, for example, and how we can make a heat network work in somewhere like Newsham Park, which is back-to-back terrace housing. We are currently working and sort of submitting a bid with London South Bank University around the eventually phasing out gas and gas connections to new properties. So many of the challenges that project's going to have are going to be the same challenges we've been addressing around how you engage neighbours, how you deal with small, narrow streets with parking on them, how you engage properties and disconnecting and damaging their properties potentially. So the lessons we've learned are actually going to help accelerate some of the product delivery through an entirely separate funding scheme that shares those opportunities between different parts of the net zero transition. And I think that was my last slide. I'll stop talking now. Just last one, just to say thank you to Innovate UK. I think the work that we've had funded by them has really helped us get to a point now where we'd like some more fun to go and look at a phase 3 and what we do around homes, but actually we've got enough tools developed on the back of the work that's been done to actually take the plunge. The springboard has been there. We're now ready to go and launch and actually start delivering some real products on the ground.
Love it. Thank you, Dave. Love a visual metaphor there at the end.
Yep.
And thank you for there's a lot going on. So really, really good. So if I can invite all of our speakers, we got some round of applause to come back on camera. Hannah, Esme, and Dave. We've got some questions and comments coming in the chat, so we'll come to those in just a second. But maybe just to kick us off, I'd love to ask all of our speakers, is there one thing that they took from the other presentations, anything you liked or thought was interesting, or you might want to pinch or adapt from one of the other kind of presentations in your place? And more broadly, given the theme today is all about investable solutions, how would you sort of, in a word or two, assess the appetite for investment in kind of net zero projects in the UK right now on a scale of let's say 1 to 10. So who would like to start? Maybe Hannah, let's start with you. What did you learn, and how would you assess the appetite for investment right now in the UK for these things?
Well, I had the advantage of having some really interesting conversations with Dave and the Liverpool team at the event in Nottingham the other week, and so there's definitely lots that I think that we can kind of get insights on from their investment conversations, and so something that I'm really looking forward to catching up on. And then we're not very advanced in Peterborough in community energy at all. We have very few kind of community energy groups. So kind of understanding how Leicestershire went about kind of facilitating that early support is really interesting. In terms of the appetite, I guess we're very early stages of that. This is part of our Scale and Embed project. So we're still midway through delivery of that project at the moment. And we are developing that investment prospectus to be able to go out and engage with potential investors. So still to be tested, I would say.
Brilliant. Thank you. Esme, how about you? What did you get from the other speakers? Any nuggets or things you might want to steal, and your thoughts on the appetite for investment right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Many things. So, I mean, I'm interested to hear if there's any particular community energy group supporting in Liverpool. I imagine that there has been, or you're looking to. Obviously, there's community consultations. I'm interested to see a bit more about the community element. And Hannah, I mean, it's interesting when we look at identifying projects and the different tools that are out there. I think everyone kind of knows the local area energy planning tool. It's a huge project, but there was a couple of screenshots there that we showed that actually were quite similar. So I'm thinking, where are all your data sets? Where are you pulling your data from, and all those kind of questions? And it is a long process producing a local area energy plan, and other people are doing certain similar things. I'm interested to how they work together, complement each other. So it's particularly interesting. And I would say, in terms of investment, I'll speak just for community energy, that I think the investment potential is extremely high. First of all, we've got GB Energy of wanting to find ways of investing in community energy. And they have got that 8 gigawatt target of investing in projects that are centered around community energy. So that would expand the sector about 20 times. So that's quite mind-boggling on how this sector could grow, and the government really wants to get behind that. So we're working with GB Energy on that. And also, if you wanted to take a look at a platform like FX, you could see how share offers work for community energy. Many of you would have seen them already. And as you can see on there, the investment opportunities are advertised, and they usually go past their targets. Usually those and organisations we're working with that have gone to share offer, they've met their targets really easily. So I think in terms of community energy, it's a really exciting time, and there's lots of investment opportunities.
Brilliant. Thank you, Esme. And Dave, same question to you. Anything you want to collaborate with or borrow from our other speakers, and how would you, with your investment summit coming up at the end of the month, I think you said, how would you assess the appetite in the UK right now?
Yeah, I think from Esme's perspective, really sort of getting a bit more of an understanding in terms of how community energy might work. It is not something we've looked at particularly closely. We've been looking at sort of the scale of the opportunity, but not, and we think we know how we need to go and make it work in terms of technical solutions, but actually how we try and get communities involved in the purchasing side of things and engage in that would be really helpful. So I think a further conversation around that would be great, because I mean, we're looking at some investment models where we have a number of special purpose vehicles that sit potentially under some kind of citywide fund, and whether some kind of community energy company is one of those SPVs that sits under it. It could be a model that potentially means we've got access to large scale finance, but then we've got very local delivery expertise and community benefits coming through. So that'd be great. And in terms of Hannah, and when we saw Odin the other week, in terms of what we've been doing on heat networks, that kind of tool is fantastic as we start to look at how we plan heat networks beyond our main city centre zone. into the smaller regions and the less heat dense regions, I think could be a really, really powerful thing. So finding out about a bit more about how that works and how we can go and buy it from Nordic would be would be quite helpful. And in terms of investment opportunities and investment appetite, I think the conversation we've been having with some of the big institutions, we've been talking to a few private equity funds, we've been talking to some of the lawyers that work for them as well. The investment appetite seems to be pretty strong. What we've seen, and I think the feedback we've had is the investment is the investment is there. What they haven't seen is a properly aligned set of products that are coming forward. So actually, the work we've been doing is less around unlocking the money. It's more about making sure the money can see the product and they're aligned on the same kind of benefits. And I think that's been really helpful because we've been sort of co-designing our investment models and our portfolios with those investors so that we're not giving them a ready-made solution. They're helping us to understand what they want it to look like to make it investable so we can start to build portfolios around their needs rather than the other way around. And that started to get the door unlocked. We had a meeting the other week with one of the sort of biggest pension funds in the UK, and it was quite surprising on the things that they were prepared to lend on that we never thought they would touch in a million years. Because as long as we can demonstrate the revenue streams, it's something that they're quite happy to get on board with. So I think the money is there.
The money is there. Let's connect the projects and the money.
Exactly.
Thank you. Okay, in the interest of time, we've got 6 questions in the Q&A and just a few minutes to go through. I'm just going to triage them very briefly. So Lisa has asked 3 questions. Thank you, Lisa. Your third question first, you're asking for more resources from this program. We're about to share a few links. If my colleagues Hannah or Rhiannon can share a link in the chat now, but there's lots of previous webinars, future webinars, various toolkits, various events. Would love to make all of those available to you if you're interested to participate, Lisa, or indeed anybody on the session today. Lisa's also keen to reach out to you, Dave, so maybe we can connect you outside of this meeting, or there's some interest there for sure. And lastly, a question for you, Esme, also from Lisa. How can others help you add value or spread the word? I see you've already shared your email in the chat, which is great. So maybe that's step 1. But yeah, how can others support, scale what you're doing? Please, Esme.
Yeah, well, it's a very good question. So in terms of how can others support us, I mean, first of all, I would say if you can get an understanding about how community energy could help support your projects, that would be a massive help. I think that one of the biggest barriers sometimes is that people don't necessarily understand how community energy could work. So I would say start to build your understanding about how community energy could work in your area. Feel free to get in touch with myself, and myself or one of the team will have a chat with you, and also look at the local power plan that's being prepared by GB Energy, because that will help you to get an idea of how this sector could grow over the coming years. There's a big push for decentralization of our energy through GB Energy, and it could be a very different landscape in the number of years to come, where we're looking for communities to generate locally produced clean energy and also actively be involved in their community with the net zero agenda. So the message is that we need to do this together. Communities must be involved. It's absolutely essential. It's drive from the government as well. So have a think about how we could help your projects and have a read up about the local power plan.
Brilliant. Thank you, Esme. That sounds really great. So let's try and make some of those connections. Hannah, can I come to you? We've got 2 questions from Katarzyna in the chat. They're both quite different, but maybe I can just ask them both and maybe you can answer one or both if you have something to say. The second question, I think you can definitely say something about the decision about what you do in-house versus commissioning out. I know you've commissioned some great pieces of work that you talked about in your presentation. So yeah, any learnings that you can recommend for what you do internally versus what you commission externally? The second question, I'm not sure who this is addressed to, but is around working with archetypes and sharing practical advice. So I'm not sure who that question is for, but yeah, anyway, Hannah, do you want to address certainly that first question? If you have anything to say about archetypes, please do share as well.
Brilliant, thanks. Yeah, so how we've addressed this is by kind of acting as kind of the lead client for external companies to create those databases and plans, and as was asked in the question. I think for us it was a decision based on where does the data expertise as well as the kind of programming expertise sit, and that's not something that the council could lead on itself, but we've been a really active kind of lead client in that process, so ensuring that data is accessible in the way that you would want it to be designed, as well as having the ongoing access to data and the ability to update it into the future, so that you can relook at your plans and it's not a kind of static one point in time view. So that's kind of how we've addressed it. In terms of archetypes, we might be able to get some information on that, but that really has been led by our kind of data experts.
Yeah. But no, that's really helpful, and I think it's kind of very smart advice to develop your expertise internally and then kind of outsource where it's maybe not your core domain around data or what have you. And so it sounds like you've done that really successfully. So thank you for sharing, and thank you, Katarzyna, for your question. Okay, in the interest of time, this is going to be the last question, and then we've got a few tiny bits of housekeeping. So, Dave, I'm going to put this to you. Laura enjoyed all the presentations and wants to know a bit more about the return on investment for investors, especially around domestic retrofit. Are there any strategies being deployed that you can talk to, please?
In terms of, we've seen a couple of different models and answers coming back from institutional investors on retrofit, and the one that we were quite surprised about was literally a pension fund funding a local authority to buy back social housing stock, retrofit, and release it to the marketplace, having been upgraded, which was something we didn't think they would touch. So we haven't seen the sort of ins and outs of the business model and the revenue streams from that, but that seems to be something that a lender is prepared to put several £100 million into, and over a substantial period of time. In terms of how we're looking to build our investment models, it tends to be a bit of a co-design approach and co-funding approach, where we have some cross-subsidy between various different technologies that are working in retrofit. So retrofit plus PV plus battery plus heat networks work quite well. Retrofit on its own is not as attractive. So what we're trying to do with our portfolio is actually blend assets together so that we use one asset to cross-subsidize another. That steers the investment to a certain kind of investor who's not necessarily keen on a really, really rapid rate of return. So this is why we're talking to the institutional investors, because we can give on that sort of kind of funding model, we can generate a revenue stream over a longer period of time, but it's at a slower rate. Whereas if we're looking to talk to private equity, for example, it's very much focused on the rapid return, PV, EVCP, battery type models, where they can see their money back quite quickly and exit and move their money somewhere else. So it's been basically around building these portfolios up and demonstrating that we have enough revenue streams through cost of energy sales, or revenues from energy sales, sorry, from things like flex, that actually shows those revenues are going to work for the institutional investors.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dave, and to all of our speakers. Again, virtual round of applause. I was keen to learn a bit more about flex market participation, but I'm afraid we've run out of time. So maybe that's something we can think about for a future session. We have another final in this series of webinars coming up on the 11th of March. Details on the screen, and we'll share the link in the chat right away. And there have been a couple that you may have missed, but they're available for you to review. And you can see the topics and the dates that they originally went out here on the screen. And again, we'll share a link in the chat. And afterwards, if you want to review those, please do catch up. And then for those that prefer to meet in person and are in and around, or can be in and around Manchester on the 5th of March, please do join us for a in-person event, exclusive showcase on the 5th of March. It's an all-day event, and you'll get to hear from many different people and organisations involved in the Net Zero Living programme over the course of the last couple of years, and it promises to be, I think, a really exciting event. So do register for that. Again, links in the chat and in the follow-up email. If you want to join us, we'd love to see you there. I think we're exactly on the hour, which was my challenge to finish on time. So thank you very much for joining today. Hopefully see you at a future webinar or in Manchester or elsewhere. Please do follow up. And thanks again for a great session to all of our speakers. Bye bye.